And up next, maybe we have a Sunicorn. They're inching toward it. I think that they've got a good chance here. We are very excited to have our closing keynote look a little at luxury. We think so often today, we've been talking a lot about moving fast and doing things automated. And this company is asking the question, well, what does luxury look like in this next era if we can all have that automation and all of those things, right? And so here to help us define luxury in the age of intelligence, please welcome to the stage Christy. She's the CEO and co-founder of Dacora Motors. Welcome to the stage.
Wow, what a program we've had today, right? 10 years. This is fantastic. I'm so honored to be here as your closing speaker. As mentioned, today I want to talk about the future of luxury and what that means in the age of intelligence. We've just spent many hours listening to companies talk about the future of AI, robotics, intelligence, and what does that mean for automotive? But when I talk about luxury, I don't just mean luxury as a price point. I mean luxury as a feeling. And so in today's day and age, as we all know, technology is moving us in a very interesting direction. Things that used to take days to do now can happen in a couple of clicks on a screen. As a technologist, as an engineer, and as a consumer, that's fantastic. But it does leave an open question. When convenience is everywhere and it has now become commodity, what's left? So it's no longer a question of, can I get it? But should I get it? And more importantly, what does it mean? Convenience, effortlessness, even performance were once part of the equation for luxury. But as those have become commodity, the question remains, what is left? A custom-tailored suit is not meaningful simply because of its final fit. It's meaningful because of the experience of the fitting itself, the conversation, the measurements, and the feeling that something was made just for you. A great hospitality experience isn't meaningful simply because it was efficient. What matters is whether you were remembered by name, whether your service felt authentic and anticipatory. And a collector doesn't just love an object because it's rare. They love it because of the story behind it. Why was it made? Who made it? And how does it connect to their life? And so we ask ourselves, with the world changing and intelligence becoming everywhere, how do we make our objects more meaningful? This is nowhere more true than in the world of automotive, because we wouldn't be gathered here today if we didn't understand something very deeply. And that's that cars have never been just transportation. Cars are a sensory experience. Their smell, sound, vibration, and the memory of where a journey took you. But with intelligence shifting many of those sensory experiences, we have to ask ourselves what is changing about the world of cars. Cars are freedom, they're identity, and they've become synonymous with culture worldwide. So if we want to keep allowing people to fall in love with cars the way they always have, we need to ensure that we continue to engage their senses. And remember as an automaker that the most important thing about your car is not a feature. It's actually the person sitting inside it. That is the mission that started it all at Dacora Motors. Design for feeling. Because in luxury, it's not enough to just ask, what can technology do? That's a question for utility. It matters more that we ask, what does technology feel like? What becomes effortless? What becomes invisible? What recedes into the background so that you don't have to worry about it? and what remains visible, tactile, and human. So that's the opportunity in front of us. And at Dacora, we've distilled that down into 3 principles: tactile, personal, and connected. That's how we think about building a modern luxury vehicle. And I mean that. I don't mean a sterile device. I don't mean a static object. And I certainly don't mean a collection of features on wheels. Because cars are a sensory experience. And so what we're building is a transportation environment rooted in the human body. The first principle is touch. Touch is information. We understand quality with our hands long before we can articulate it with our words. We know that the softness of leather, the grain of wood, the temperature of metal, they mean something. And so at Dacora, we've designed an intelligence-first analog cabin designed to engage the senses while not removing what made it most important. Intelligence is important, we know that. We are intelligent first. But a screen cannot be the emotional soul of a vehicle. That should remain with the human. Our second principle is personal. Personalization in cars have a long history. I like to call it a paint by number. You pick your paint color, you pick your leather color, you pick your stitching, your wheels, and depending on your budget, depends on how many options you get to pick from, how vast your menu. And those options are great. Those choices matter. But why should your object that means so much to you, why should it remain static over time? We believe that personalization doesn't end with purchase. It's just beginning. And so at Dacora, we've thought about personalization architecturally, from materials to layouts to even modular functionality. Your car can change as your life unfolds. And our last principle is connected. And I don't mean digitally connected, although of course we are. I mean connected to a story, connected to the people behind the product, why it was made, how it was made, where it was made. I was telling someone this yesterday, and they said to me, you know, in Europe, we call that heritage. And I don't disagree. Heritage is very important. But being in existence for 100 years simply isn't enough anymore. Because as we said, owning a car is about your identity. And so what you own says something about you to the world. And therefore, how many years you've been in business isn't the only part of the equation. Trust, community, service, they're all part of what takes a meaningful object and makes it unforgettable. And so as I stand up on this stage and I reflect on everything we heard today, I want to challenge one key assumption. I want to challenge the idea that the future of intelligence has to look sterile. We seem to have inherited a very singular visual language for what the future looks like. Very sci-fi, white walls, blue light, smooth surfaces, almost untouched by human hands. Well, that's one vision for the future. I have a very different one. I believe the future can be warm. It can be tactile. It can have natural materials. And it can celebrate the human at the center of it. Because for luxury, it's not just about what we can do. It's about how we make people feel. And if we want cars to go on being culture, identity, and aspiration, we need to ensure that we don't remove the sensory experience that made people fall in love with them in the first place. And so if I leave you with one idea today, I hope it's this. When you see an experience that someone is telling you is the future of intelligence, ask yourself if they've left room for human intelligence inside it. Because the future is not frictionless. The future is human. Thank you.